Sure. Okay. As it was just introduced, our session today is Building Instruction Opportunities for First-Year Students Through Campus Relationships. Next slide.
Sure.
Okay. And so first, here's a slide for us. So we introduce ourselves.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Rose Melonis. This is my first time at this conference. It's been awesome so far. A lot of great presentations. I am the social sciences librarian at Creighton.
Good afternoon, everybody. I too have been here for the entire day of presentations and really, really impressed with all of the great information. So thank you for sharing, everybody. I am Chris Carmichael, Senior Research and Instruction Librarian for Business Arts and Sciences and resident motorcycle chick at Creighton University.
I am Ian Ross Hughes. This is actually my second time attending one of these conferences. This is just as fantastic this time as the last time. And I am the Humanities Librarian at Creighton University.
And rounding us out, I am Rachel Menzel, the STEM Librarian. It is also my first time here, and just repeating the applause for what a great day it's been, and thanks for sticking around for this last session. I'm a bookmaker, food adventurer, and sustainability advocate.
Okay, so our objectives for this presentation is we hope by the end of this presentation you're able to define how Creighton University's libraries information literacy programs are tied to Creighton's core curriculum, describe how engagement in its various forms builds relationships with different departments and programs, and apply our takeaways from the programs to your unique circumstances. So our agenda for the day, for the program, is we will give some basic background of Creighton University. Then we will go over different programs we teach one-shots for, including Quest for the Cup, or KFTC, Library Encounter Online, or LEO, and Critical Issues in Human Inquiry, or Critical Issues. Within each of the above listed programs, we will introduce you to the program, give its background, tell you about our relationship with their faculty or staff, how we got to that relationship, give you an idea of what a session can look like, share some roadblocks, then tell you our takeaways from our involvement. So the first thing we're going to do here is, so we're going to be asking you some questions through Vivox. I want to remind you that the session ID will be available on later slides. So if you can scan in or write it down, I'll give you a couple seconds here. We would love to have you participate with us. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. So just to get an understanding of how this is going to work and how Vivox works, we're just going to ask a very simple question. How are you doing today? I think we can go to the next slide. Okay, we have, I am absolutely understanding the hungry.
And the overcaffeinated.
I have a feeling I know who put that one in there. Sleepy and not too bad. Okay, so this is essentially how the Vivox is going to work. We appreciate any participation, and then we will move on, and I will give it over to Chris Carmichael.
Thanks, Ian. So yeah, just to reiterate, any and all participation throughout the session is greatly appreciated, and it makes it fun for everybody. So the components you see in this slide, this multifaceted Venn diagram with Jesuit education in the middle and 7 or 8 lobes, are basically the Jesuit charisms, the values that Creighton endeavors to impart to every student on campus. Creighton was established back in 1878 by a couple of brothers who were involved with the railroad expansion. It is one of 28 U.S. Jesuit universities. We have recently increased our Carnegie status to an R2 institution. We serve approximately 8,500 students, undergraduate and graduate courses combined. And over the last 6 years, at least, have enrolled almost 1,100 freshmen every year. All of these students are supported by a research and instruction team of 11 professional librarians, 6 of whom are dedicated to our health sciences programs. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, but it bears repeating, Creighton is Catholic, Jesuit, and comprehensive. And what we mean by that is that it includes a College of Arts and Sciences, the Heider College of Business, a law school, a College of Nursing, School of Pharmacy and Allied Health Professions, which also includes occupational and physical therapy, a School of Medicine, and the Creighton Dental School. The important parts of where the libraries fit in is basically working to help educate the student as a whole, to be a critical thinker, to be a lifelong reflective learner. We, at least in the library, dedicate ourselves to the idea of cura personalis, the care of the whole person. We are located smack dab in the middle of the heartland here in Omaha, and recently stood up in 2021 a second medical campus in Phoenix. And we're pretty proud of the fact that we've got some incredible sports teams and world-class scholars employed here. So before we get going into our next person talking at you, here's another question for your VVOX. Does your institution offer a credit-bearing information literacy library instruction course? Yes or no? And hopefully this information will give us an idea of where people are at, what their experiences are, etc. Oh, look at that. Okay, so about a quarter of us attending have an actual credit-bearing course. Okay, that's great. Well, where Creighton started, we don't have a credit-bearing required information literacy course currently. Our information literacy program pretty much relies on building and maintaining the relationships across the university. And it's been that way since I've been here, which will be 20 years in August. So, as it says here, our quest for the cup is kind of the first level. And excuse me. Then Leo comes next as the second level of our scaffold. And then the final course is critical issues in human inquiry. And my colleagues will explain a little more about each one.
Thank you, Chris. So the first program we're going to talk about today is called Quest for the Cup. It is a scavenger hunt for students in their first year seminar class. Here at Creighton, we call it the Ratio Studiorum Practicum, or RSP. I will try to remember to call it the first year seminar to not jargonize you, but if I call it RSP, you'll know what I mean. The objectives we share with the students is that learners will be able to know where to seek help. They'll be able to go to 3 different locations in the library, and they'll show that they can use the catalog. The institutional learning objectives that we aim to meet from these student learning outcomes are that they can strategically locate, select, and engage with information. They can intentionally select information sources, methods, or tools in order to appropriately meet a need, answer a question, or solve a problem, and that they can identify library facilities, services, and resources as key pieces in the learning process. Now, we've taken these, we've modified them somewhat. They're modified from the ACRL framework, but they are our Creighton learning outcomes, some of them. So our current relationships for Quest for the Cup, we take a two-prong approach. So every year, the seminar coordinator, who's the Associate Dean of Arts and Sciences, annually sends out a binder of advertising literature to all of the first-year seminar instructors. So they get everything that is offered to RSP students or first-year seminar students. And every year we work with her to make sure that our marketing materials are included. We also send out an invitation email to all of the seminar instructors by email. There used to be an in-person kickoff gathering. COVID put an end to that and it has not been revived. So email is kind of our best bet. We hope that is revived, but currently it has not been. So yep, just the binder and the email is all that we can do in terms of reaching everybody. It probably goes without saying, but there are more things for first-year students to become oriented to than there are class sessions. So we can't get everyone. It's just not possible, but we do get about a third, and that's been working out pretty well. The instructors that do come do share positive feedback. They seem to like the program and like what it offers the students. And we see that especially because recurring instructors are frequent. Once we get them again and again and again. As a brief overview of what the sessions are like, we send out 2 instructional videos to the students ahead of time. Those are about the LCC system that we use, call number system. So students know how to find a book on a shelf and know how to use the catalog. We randomly assign students into groups of about 3 or 4. Each group gets a different set of scavenger hunt clues just to keep those groups maintained. And the quests are intentionally designed to take the students all over the library, interact with different shelving locations, the movable shelvings locations. We take them to the makerspace so they can talk with the makerspace staff and learn about what they can do in the makerspace. They talk to the service desk so they can know where to ask for help. They will use the catalog and they'll gain some familiarity with some parts of a citation by using the catalog as well, and by us drawing attention to things like the journal title rather than the database name, just little pieces like that. What we do during the hunt, we introduce it, of course. If they have not watched the videos, we always ask that ahead of time. Then we do a little bit of rehashing of that information. We circulate, look for anybody that needs help, and then at the end, we do review the students' answers and gently correct where need be. And then at the end of the quest, the students fill out a post-assessment where it's anonymous, it's not graded or tied to their grade in any way. It just helps us check for how those objectives were met or not met. And they receive a Library Bandit cup, which also serves to continue that word of mouth. If people are like, oh, a library cup, where did you get that? This is a sample of one of the clues. So as you can see, we have some encouragement to write down call numbers. They'll look up call numbers by actually going to that shelving location. The DVDs are very challenging because of all of the similarities in call numbers. So we usually have to help there. And again, they'll go to the makerspace. We have a planted question at the service desk, so on and so forth. And then they actually bring the physical items to us to look over. So we can prove that they have actually gone there and gotten the item rather than just done everything online. Some challenges that we face and have observed over the last few years that I've been here is that, having multiple librarians run this program leads to just organic differences in how we do it, which then leads to differences in the post-assessments. And we haven't really resolved how to remedy that or approach that yet. It's also a difficult program to maintain in terms of keeping it fresh, adding new services, making students aware of those new services, as well as, we don't want to replace vital orienting information with advertising of the new services. We also have some trouble with the flipped classroom model on occasion. Sometimes the students don't watch the videos, sometimes they don't receive the emails or claim that they don't receive the emails. And so there is some difference in how much information they actually get ahead of time. And as many educators can probably relate to, student engagement differs from session to session, and a single negative attitude, or on the flip side, a single positive attitude can sink a ship or help that team succeed. We are also wrestling with how to effectively create a virtual option. That has been a request from instructors, especially for students that miss the day. We would like to still be able to orient them to the library, but it being a very place-based orientation, it's difficult to have the same effect with just pictures. Okay, so our takeaways of several years of running this program is that it's valuable to keep refreshing the scavenger hunt to include expanding services and programs. And it may be valuable if you have a similar program to consider expanding to other departments within your library, such as the archives or special collections, especially underused services. And that further collaboration leads to other avenues to market the program. The more people you bring in, the greater your reach can be, because they can call in all of their contacts as well. We've also found that randomly assigning those teams helps disperse any negative attitudes. So that just tends to lead us to the most successful results, we feel. The students don't love it. They'd rather be with their friends, but they make it work. And many of them do share positive feedback of like, I didn't expect it to be fun, but it actually was fun. And that leads me to the next point of that students actually do like the program and sharing some of their comments. We have a comment section at the end of the post-assessment. Sharing those comments is an effective marketing tool to their instructors for the next year. Some of our ideas for virtual options include clickable image maps of library spaces so that we could say, where would you go in this image to ask for help? And it would include the service desk, and they could click on the service desk. Maybe eventually we'll get to virtual reality. Our emerging technologies lab does have an expert in virtual reality environments, so that may be something that we consider in the future. I'm going to describe this image for any visually impaired attendees. It is a man with a light bulb who's also taking notes. I generated it with ChatGPT. My prompt was academic, taking notes, and gaining insight. And that leads us to, we're going to have just a couple minutes of stretch time, just as a little break of all of the content that we've jumped on you so far. So maybe just 3 minutes or so, 2 or 3 minutes. We'll come back at 4:21. If anyone needs to get some water, I'm going to take a drink myself. And this is Ian's cat, Fable, doing a stretch. I'll just keep chattering for anyone that's still here. Fable is named for our, I guess, world-class archival collection, special collection of Fables-related artifacts and books collected by our own Father Greg Carlson. So it includes Aesop's Fables and Fables by La Fontaine and many, many, many different iterations of Fables. So if you know anyone who's interested in Fables, contact us or our archives and we can put you in touch with Father Carlson. Oh, Chris, it's blurring out. Oh, that's our branded cup. Yes.
And in a package.
In a package.
Rose, I don't recall you had the order form for the expense. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and I just answered because this was something that I think at the very end, like, ooh, we spent maybe a little too much money on this, but they were maybe $1.30 per cup, if I recall, because we bought so much at a time. And now, right now they've taken over like our storage space.
We always look forward to Quest for the Cup season to start again so that we can offload more cups.
Right.
For a while, it was all over our office kitchenette. Okay, I think we are at our target time now. So I will take us to our next slide. Yes. Okay, so just to bring us back together again, we have another question of how would you characterize your interactions with first-year courses? If they are information literacy courses, how are those going? And do you have to like work at getting those instructors to invite you in if you do not have a 4-credit offering and it's all through one-shot instruction sessions? How has that gone for you? Is it still in the kind of building process, or is it kind of a smooth sailing ship and everything works like clockwork? I envy you, but that is excellent. And I've noticed the poll closes when I go to the next slide, so I'm just going to leave it open for a little bit, which means we stare at a blank screen. Sorry about that. Okay, I will advance. Yes. We understand the frustration for sure, and a lot of outreach. Yes, it is difficult. Outreach, it feels like it's never done. And I can relate to trying to break in. I have that difficulty with some of my liaison areas. I wonder if I can see these other messages. Oops, I cannot. Okay. Well, thank you all for participating in that. And for those of you that have strong relationships, feel free, if you have any insights to share, do share those with us at the end if you're willing to. And now I will pass it over to Rose.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Okay, so moving on to our next scaffold, it would be Library Encounter Online, otherwise known as LEO. That is a picture of the image that we use in Leo. It looks very menacing and like he's glaring. I swear he is friendlier somehow when you put it in the context of the course. Leo is an online non-credit library course, or it can be used as a module for COM 101 courses. It was created in 2014, 2015. So this was a while ago, and everyone that worked on it and created it has left. So I don't have a lot of background information as to how it got created and why it got created. But from what I understand, there was a need for information literacy at the time that it was produced. And really, it was a sense of being at the right place at the right time for the librarians that were doing it. They were saying, hey, we could do this for you. Let's do it. Let's get it going. We can produce it. And it took time to do, but we got it integrated into COM 101. So COM 101 actually is something that all freshmen are required to take. And this has just been an amazing opportunity for us because we reach literally all freshmen, most of them during their fall semester. Otherwise, they'll hit this in their sophomore or their spring semester. But being able to reach every freshman so they get all the same information at the same time, and there's about 1,000, as I think Chris had mentioned, has been really great for us. And next slide, please. Okay, so Leo, there's been a number of updates. I mean, it's been around for about a decade. But one of the first updates, the first kind of bigger update, has been something that came out of our 3-year strategic plan. And that plan actually just ended. And that was looking at more of a focus on first gen and non-traditional students. And we did a number of things. But one thing that we did do was put a section into Leo, or just different new information into Leo that can help those non-traditional and those first gen students. However, working with the knowledge that if something that could be very helpful for a first gen student can also be really helpful for, a non-first gen student. They can all benefit from this information. So one thing that we did do was have a glossary of commonly used library terms. And these are terms that are sprinkled, throughout Leo. The librarians always talk about them. I'm sure professors throw them out as well. But what are they? Not everybody knows what these terms are. So just things like, what the service desk is, what interlibrary loan is, what is your library card? How do you check out books? So things like that we've put in our glossary. We also have videos on how to use the Library of Congress classification system. This is probably a new classification system for everybody. And how to find a book on the shelf. So very basic information that actually Rachel has discussed, that this is what we send to our Quest for the Cup students as well. So potentially they could see it twice, which is not always a bad thing. And plus it's just nice to have video tutorials to break up some of the text, I think. Additionally, we have a handout that talks about an explanation between what an academic library is and what a public library is. I think many students, ideally, are familiar with a public library and what they can do for you, but have less familiarity with what is an academic library, how is that different, how can these librarians actually help me in school? So an explanation of that has been helpful. Much of this did come out of conversations, broader conversations beyond just Leo updates, but a lot of it did come out of student support services in our TRIO program that we have on campus. So she and the lady that spoke with us is no longer there, but she was amazing to talk to and to learn about just first gen in general. So building that relationship with TRIO has been really helpful. And next slide, please. Another update, as you can imagine, came with AI. And this is something actually that came just as I updated a media literacy module in Leo. And right after I published it, the core curriculum director and the Com 101 director met with me. You're like, yeah, media literacy is outdated now. I just published it, but now we got AI. So yes, I guess it is, because we need more AI information. So we met with them in the summer of 2024, Chris and I, and just kind of got, some basic information. What are you guys looking for? This is what we can do. I think it was a bit of a light bulb moment for them because, hey, how can we reach students and talk about AI? Because every instructor on campus has a different policy on AI, what students can do. But what are some basic information that we can discuss? And so it was a light bulb moment. They realized, hey, Leo can do that for them. So we met with them, and what we put in there ended up being very baseline introductory information, which is fine. Every student does see the same thing in it. It is mostly textual information. As of right now, we might do more updates over the summer. And in it, we included just capabilities, the limitations of AI, and since we are a Jesuit institution, we are also including some of the more ethical aspects of AI. So with all of this, we are trying to work with the understanding that this is one part of 1 week in a 1-credit course. And the course itself is meant to be roughly about an hour, but students to take an hour. But students do have an entire week to work with this content. This image was also created by ChatGPT. I feel like ChatGPT images all look roughly the same kind of ChatGPT. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that points it out to me. But the prompt was AI and libraries. And so the result is actually kind of cool because it looks like the robot is getting all of his information from the library. So if that were the case, that would be awesome. And next slide, please. There's challenges always. Maintenance is just a big thing. I mean, it's a big course. It's been around for a while. There's always, interface changes, EBSCO is changing. So just some maintenance issues that always crop up every year. The biggest thing for me with this course is that there is a lot of information in it. So there's just a big potential for information overload, which I'm aware of, but I'm not quite sure how to get around it because I was talking to Com 101 director. And he's like, yeah, don't get rid of any of this. This is great. We need to have it. It's okay. Well, I won't. And so it can be hard to engage with content online. I mean, it's just online and you're going through, each page. So we do have quizzes, and those are more like knowledge checks that students can pause, take a break, see what they're reading, get that knowledge check. And of course, it does have video tutorials in it. So if you're more want to view a video to get information, you have that option. But the challenge from those quizzes is that we don't get that data since it's pulled into each separate Com 101 sections, of which there's about I think 25 or so. To get around that, in 2023, we created a separate lib survey for assessment purposes. So at the very end of Leo, it's an embedded survey, and we can get all that assessment data at the end. So that's been really great to finally get some assessment data. And next slide, please. So in terms of relationships, we do work really closely with instructional designers. And this has been a great opportunity to get to know them and meet with them because they are really great resources. I mean, they're the ones behind the software. It is in Canvas. And so they're also really, they're experts on accessibility as well, because that was another actually big update, was just making it very accessible for our users. So there's somebody that can go to if ever there's a maintenance issue, or just like, hey, what are you thinking about Leo right now? What do you think about this? And they're really helpful for that. So it also can be really good, just kind of backing up from what we are doing, but it can be helpful for all of us to think about, where do you want to exert your authoritative voice? Because we can't be everything to everyone. For us, our strategic plan, one of our upcoming 3-year strategic plan, one of the focuses is on AI. So that is where our authoritative voice will be. And that is where Leo is going to be a place where we're going to focus more on AI and get the librarians, ideally teaching more on AI as well. And next slide, please. So key takeaways from Leo, something like Leo can be used, as a required orientation. That's how I view it. It's an orientation for students that gets more in depth than what Quest for the Cup is. For its pros, it does not require face-to-face time. We have 1,000 students. It's probably really quite difficult to meet all 1,000 students over the course of our 15-week semester. But in terms of a pro, we can reach those students really easily with Leo. So, I mean, that's awesome that we can reach that many in this fashion. But as a con, we just don't get a chance to put, or the students don't get a chance to put a face to a name. They don't get to see the librarians. And so that's one thing that I'm going to be trying. Well, I am trying to change this summer. I'd like to humanize it a little bit more and put a picture of the librarians in there, just so they know a bit more of the people who did the content behind the content, so they can reach out to us ideally. Because, Leo is set up that they can't ask us questions. We're not in their blue line or their, Canvas classroom. So they can't ask us questions about the content, which is kind of a con. Really, it is a con. They could ask their instructor, but they aren't necessarily the experts. And we do have our contact information throughout there. But it'd be nice if we could somehow get, more feedback on Leo besides just the assessment. So yes, humanizing the content is something that I'm going to be doing. And I had mentioned the images that I'll try to be putting in. We're going to get a staff photo to put in Leo, and that's going to be a nice update. And next slide, please. Okay, so one more VVAX for the group. What is your favorite active learning activity that you give in classes? And this could be really anything. Do you use something like VVOX or Mentimeter or Pear Deck in terms of, just technology to get feedback? Do you have a really activity that students respond well to? That'd be awesome, because that's something we're always, love to learn more about. So if you want to put it in VVOX or in the chat, that'd be great.
We had a question about instructors being able to pick and choose parts of the Leo. No, it's broken into segments.
Right, it's broken into segments, but they cannot choose which ones they want. I mean, it's the entire module that they get, because the idea is that it's for Com 101 and they're all learning the same thing in those sections. So no, they cannot.
Well, and part of that standardization for the Com 101 courses is because that Com 101 is where the information literacy learning outcome is actually assessed across the university. So having that standardization, this builds that in.
That is true. Yep. And we can see if there's a next slide, if there's any responses at all. Okay, perfect. Okay, some of these I'm not, I think Padlet would be cool. Nice. I don't know Kahoot. I'll have to look up what that is. Seems like a couple people have that one. Mind mapping. I don't know if I can see the other images or the other messages or not. Information literate affirmation. These are great. I think we'll get a chance to look through them since they're going to save for us. So these are great responses.
Yeah, thank you for all of these.
Thank you.
All right. And so we're moving on to critical issues and human inquiry. So these classes, they are required for the MagiScore curriculum, much like the other classes we have gone over today. They are 3 credit hours. They often introduce students to topics and areas that they may not have otherwise looked at while they were here. They're often passion projects for professors. So some of these critical issues classes, the titles include hero literature, Princesses, Bride and Mothers, and the history of unnatural disasters, and they are required by all, for all students. So our current relationship. So our relationship before with them was essentially we would either wait for them to reach out to us, or we would maybe try to randomly email them. But about 2.5 years ago, I was invited to join a movie club on campus with an English professor. And it turns out that movie professor, Faith, she was one of the heads of the critical issues areas. So I was able to, within the movie club participation, sneak in the question, hey, can you email all of the critical issues professors for us? So we are now able to use that email that she sends out. So for instance, I will forward her email and then put my information as well. So now they get an email from someone who's at the top of their program, a faculty member, and then a second one from my liaison areas just saying, hey, I'm the liaison librarian. I would love to work with you on this. It has created a great starting point for us. It's offered us some credibility to have the email from the professor. So 2 years ago, when we first did it, we had 12 sessions, and we've jumped all the way up to 31 instruction sessions in critical issues because, I think a big part because this professor has agreed to work with us. So how these sessions look, they're a lot like a lot of one-shots. We often work with the professor to see what's best for the class. They do have an information literacy component, but that information literacy component doesn't always look the same for every class. So with the different subject areas, we often have to fit into those sessions what belongs in that class. So a history professor, for instance, might want primary resources. Faith, she's an English professor again. She asks me to help students find current newspapers, and I have an art class where they find commentary on art in different parts of the world. And then, like I said, these sessions often look like the non-critical issue sessions that are in any given department. So usually a history session looks a lot like a history session. English session looks like an English session. So that makes it kind of easier to plan. Okay, so some of the critical issues challenges that we have. So we tried to do some broad learning objectives that would work for the program. We do have some some institutional ones for the library, but it didn't work out because of those specific objectives that every class wanted. And so we were unable to fit some of those objectives into the lesson plans that the professors wanted from us. So the discussion of what we wanted and why, and it was determined that it really wasn't working. Additionally, the faculty doesn't always give us equal time in classes. And so, which I'm sure we all know, you want to get the full session, but you don't always get it. Combined with wanting different objectives in classes, it was tough to assess on the program. And I have a challenge here that I do not have listed. A couple semesters ago, I had to watch all of the Mission Impossible movies for the movie club. So I'm really taking one to keep us in good graces with faith. Next slide. Okay, so our critical issue takeaways. Even when a program has had some success, there's room to grow, especially through outreach. We're still figuring out how to improve the program. And so we're going to just figure out different ways to do it. It is good to use uniformity, like we tried to do with trying to get broad objectives, but it doesn't always fit in a box. Flexibility can also help a program grow. There is room to continue to reach, I feel there's room for our program to continue to reach into other departments, so we just got to keep working at it. And finally, I already knew this, but it's always a takeaway. I'm very grateful to my coworkers. They are fantastic. Even when they're not directly involved in the sessions, they are very helpful in making sure that we keep the program moving forward and the classes going well. So I'm going to throw it back to Rose.
Okay, so wrapping up our relationships going forward, we are going to be continuing to be present at university events, get-togethers, workshops, university-sponsored parties. It's just been a really great way to know our faculty, and it's not really strategic at all necessarily. We're just trying to meet them and embracing that serendipity moment that just comes out of conversations. If they want us to come into their classes, that's a great bonus. One thing that's going to potentially change our relationships is we have some upcoming faculty status as of like this year or early next year. So that could change our relationships. I'd be curious to see how, but we're excited about that. We are also going to continue to teach via the Center for Faculty Excellence. I think many people have something very similar on their campuses. It's essentially our center that teaches to faculty and staff, like professional development type activities. That's something that we started to do probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago, and it's really helped us elevate our library profile, and just other instructors can see us as co-educators and colleagues rather than necessarily just staff. So that's something that we're going to continue to do, and we do workshops for them every year. Also, this is something that's fairly new. Rachel Menzel has started to kind of spearhead this one, but we would like to build out our relationships more to non-curricular departments and groups. So these groups like global engagement or sustainability, they don't need information literacy necessarily, and we still have our liaison assignments in the departments that we, work with, but it's still a great chance for us to collaborate and do maybe, some kind of events with these groups and just get to know those folks that are not faculty necessarily, but are still really active and work with students on campus. And next slide, please. We do have just a couple of resources here. So I think this Library Encounter Online link should take you to the public version of Leo. We have just more information if you're interested. What is a Jesuit education, since that really underpins everything that we do at Creighton. Oop, I lost the slides.
Sorry, Rose, it froze. It's coming right back. I will get the links in the chat, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, since no one can actually click the links from the slides. Okay, yeah, and there wasn't really a lot left, but the research and instruction link there, which Rachel said she would put into the chat, just goes to our homepage, which will be revamped, I think, this upcoming 6 months. That talks more about the programs that we do. And there's a picture of Reinhardt Library on campus there with in front of the with the gardens in front. And then we have one last VVAX poll. Yeah, please share any, insights or thoughts. I know that the chat's been busy, so that's been awesome. But if you have any like insights or chats to share, we could even just look at it via the chat. That'll be helpful. We don't need to do the VVAX.
Oh man,
PowerPoint is acting goofy.
we are struggling.
And I think, what time is it? So this goes to 3:50. If there's any questions or anything, we can, unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and we'd be happy to. I haven't been looking, but we'd be happy to answer anything as well. I don't know if the slides get shared afterward, but we also have our email addresses on the slides too.
If you send your slides into the lit email, yes, we will happily share them.
Oh, perfect. Yes, we can do that.
Thanks for everybody for being here and sticking it out with us for this late afternoon session, and appreciate all of you playing along with VBox and so on.